левую руку. Это та консоль, где мы будем вообще это все исполнять, работать и вообще.
But for now, let's start the run and let's take it away. Twisted Tamer, the TAS author, and RTA runner Glyph
All right, so we just
go for it.
we just got through the file select pretty quick. This test uses a lot of left plus right tricks, so it's not going to look like a normal RTA run. Essentially, it gives you a weird directional state that can actually affect how items work. So we use it to our advantage with very glitched behaviors on items. And the first thing we're going to see is when we get to the beach. Won't spoil it. You want to talk about the game, Glyph?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is no wrong warp. To explain the rules a little bit, we're not allowed to go into the doghouse and do any of that glitch world stuff you might be familiar with. That will be in the next run that we just met the incentive for. Also, the game is kind of built up into maps.
Может, вы скажете что-нибудь конкретное по Арану? Хорошо, ладно.
Share the same map for the most part. And for the most part, we won't be transitioning between
Игра, по сути своей, разделена на несколько карт. Это мы точно знаем. Мы получили свой щит, и мы не будем использовать в этом ране. Мы не будем сходить в собачий домик.
Crazy inputs going on you wouldn't be able to do normally.
Конуру. Собачий домик. Звучит мощно. Просто.
Gives you 2 rupees instead of just 1 because it's 2 hitboxes. And we're going to use that to purchase bombs and then steal the bow. But we got to get past this guy who doesn't want to let us win.
He is a
Мы украли целую лопату.
And just to show you guys one of the cool things with the way that GBI speedrun works, the inputs are not running off of the controller.
Мы украли целую лопату, зашли, такие умерли, рестартнули игру, сделали супер-пупер манипуляции, украли лук, и, короче, мы такие, все, у нас все хорошо.
I was totally expecting a stream to die when you pulled that controller out.
So you see there, we skipped some of the animation from the owl. By placing a bomb as soon as we transition, it loads 2 bombs at the same time, which normally is not supposed to happen. And so certain values get
А сейчас, например, чтобы пропустить анимацию совы, ТАС поставил 2 бомбы одновременно. Почему-то. Мы просто ставим бомбу, чтобы пропустить анимацию. А почему-то ТАС, игра в данный момент создает 2 бомбы. Почему, неизвестно, но...
Save and quit is very important in this run. We can warp back to the last place we stored a warp, which was that house. So we can shortcut back to the dungeon. Shortcut back to the village so that we can go to D1 faster. Certain categories ban save and quit, but we use it as we can here.
Сейчас...
Yeah, and so like I said, also you can place keys into the side. But like I said, dungeons are kind of sort of on the same map. But we aren't allowed to transition between different dungeons, which you can do pretty easily without a bounds tricks. Because it loads the wrong palette. It's a little bit too glitchy, and the last task didn't do it. So Tamer opted not to do that, but we'll be doing that with cave systems. That does load the correct
подземелья находятся на одной карте, поэтому с помощью Out of Bounds мы можем переходить с одного подземелья на другое, но это, скажем так, ситуативная штука в данном тасе.
Shield them and flip them over to make them vulnerable, but we just used up plus down to make quick work of them from across the screen. And we used left plus right shielding in that underground system to boost over the gaps without the feather.
Also, you'll
notice normally in GBISR you can't do up, down, or left plus right tricks. But in the movie playback system, where we're replaying passes, you can send
очень быстрого блокирования мы перелетали через...
Also, you might notice whenever we do that, Link's glitch
через ямы с помощью щита, просто блокируя.
The game not really knowing what to do.
То есть вот мы подобрали, конечно...
So it just gets very confused.
Some more of that
Ага,
spag tech.
окей, это
That was a super jump. Want to explain that?
было странно.
Yeah, basically this game has ledges that if you push into it for 6 frames, you can actually leap off and it'll put you into a collisionless state until you land.
Знаете,
But we can actually abuse that by
знаете,
clipping in a wall and
просто
then
знаете,
pushing
что у
away
нас
from
сейчас
it,
происходит?
facing away from
У
it,
нас,
and it'll put you into a
у
collisionless
нас
state until you
половина
land.
линка.
And we can actually do that without clipping in a wall. It's a sub-pixel precise trick at that point.
У нас
But we can massively abuse
полинка.
getting through any collision we want if it's close enough. And we can use the shield and sword
У меня проклятые
to
шутки.
deflect off of enemies to redirect where we go. It's pretty useful.
Very cool.
Мы говорим с совой. Ну, в
So,
принципе,
Twisted Tamer, how long
половина
did you
линка
work on
говорит...
this task here?
Ну, сейчас
I spent months like learning game
полный
and routing.
линк говорит с собой.
And it took about 3 to 4 months to make the task, along with just a little bit of routing and testing here and there. But it's mostly straightforward process.
Notice we are playing on English, so we can't skip this text with the B button. So this text goes on forever.
That reminds me, I was going to tell the story about how I actually got the cartridge to do this verification. Because it was just like back in February before everything started shutting down. And I got the call that we wanted to do this, like to actually like verify this movie. And I tried to track down a cartridge. And this isn't just an English cartridge. It's a very specific revision of the English
они
cartridge.
говорят.
So I called like 10 game stores, drove like halfway over the state, digging one up, and I finally found one, like hidden away in one game store an hour away. It was great.
Они говорят про то, как нашли этот
Definitely hard
картридж.
to track down the
Нужна
correct
была
game versions.
мало того, что
such an old game.
ревизия картриджа на
a little bit of
английском
eBay
языке,
RNG.
так еще и специфичная,
There is a bomb trigger.
ну, специфичная,
To kind of just play that
Фу.
cutscene with the
специфичная версия
the
ревизии.
witch giving us powder without actually having to have the mushroom.
Типа как вот товарищ
The
на
only reason we
ветке,
need powder
он
is because of the
проехал
D2 entrance puzzle requiring 2 powder.
полстраны,
Other
10
than that, we could
магазинов,
completely skip it
чтобы
if there was a
найти
way.
ее.
So here we got a flock clip.
Найти
Basically,
ее. Все.
a text box triggered by something you push into that gives a text box. It will corner boost you into the wall just a little bit, and that's just enough
Тем
to click
временем
through
мы
it.
слегка
And there we
ноуклипнулись.
doubled up with RNG manipulation, enough sprites to overload the
Просто
next
так
screen so that
мы
we can
смогли.
get rid of one of the plants blocking away.
Мы
we can
мы
skip
телепортировали,
that
фу,
Yeah, that's something
прошли
you
через
cannot do
камень.
RTA. It's
Конечно,
requires way too
мы
perfect luck to
стали
be able to do it.
полулинком,
But TASBot
но
always has perfect luck because he's TASBot.
понятная жертва.
Super jump there to skip having to get a key for this room.
Но клипнулся через стену
That
для
jump
того,
always
чтобы
looks crazy to
пропустить получение ключа.
The Henoxes are usually very, very difficult mini bosses, but not really.
Обычно вот тот
Kind of like
мини-босс,
similar
с
to
кем
the
он
Hinox
сейчас
might see
дрался,
in
достаточно
LAS. Kind of
сложный.
uses similar mechanics with the Hinox
Но давайте
grabbing you.
честно.
So these guys just need to be off screen, but we can just shoot them off screen and get our bracelet. We haven't talked about it yet, but every time you open like a chest, you can actually skip the text by opening up the save and quit menu.
Так сейчас сказали
And if you
все-таки
open up
прикольную
if you need to do
штуку.
a
То,
menu to
что
change
можно
clips,
пропускать
doing that at the same frame you open a chest is 6 frames faster.
текст, который выходит при
And we
открытии
use
сундука,
that stealth host to clip into this instrument room.
выходя
The way this done is
в
so that
меню
we can just
паузы.
easily get in here.
О, да.
Skip the Bottle Grotto boss.
Yeah, again, the dungeons are all
Мы
kind of in the
получили
same map.
дотку!
So if we just know where the
Или
specific
это
rooms are,
флейта.
we can kind of clip
Ну, скажем,
through walls to get to them.
нормально.
And if you guys haven't noticed yet, I'm sure you all have. I'm sure you all on the stream have noticed. But in the upper left corner, there is an input viewer live, so you can see the inputs coming through kind of like you would usually see with TASBot live at the event on his little Nest board. But on GBI, we have it come through the video feed with the
Так,
game.
а сейчас
Yeah, it's really
Since
convenient,
there's no
especially
actual controller.
товарищ говорит о
yeah,
том,
it's really
что
convenient, especially when you're streaming the game. You can just have an input display without needing an adapter or anything like that.
есть где-то на экране инпуты, то есть вот кнопки, которые нажимает TASBot, типа в правом верхнем углу, но я не вижу ничего в правом верхнем углу. Вы видите что-нибудь в правом верхнем углу?
5-minute or so quest that involve getting golden leaves and bring them to Richard to gain access to this maze. But basically, we can pause the frame you fall into the pit at the very bottom of the screen, and when you get out of the menu, you'll actually be standing like 1 pixel below the screen border, and you'll be able to transition, so we can just get in here.
Сейчас объясняют интересные скипы. Пропуск чего пропуск?
Another little abuse of facing up to open these key blocks.
Пропуск ямы. Яма, которая в итоге давала нам ключ, чтобы пройти в тот лабиринт, который мы увидели до этого, где Линк расчищал себе путь ключом, чтобы не попасть в яму под травой спрятанные. Сейчас у нас есть самая лучшая штука в игре. Это называется ботинок. Ботинок позволяет нам набирать скорость, очень быстро набирать. Ну и, естественно, он помогает нам уходить за пределы уровня и говорить то, что это слишком легко.
Alright, so we got an owl on the next screen that wants to slow us down, but we're just gonna make him disappear. Basically, we shovel up enough sprites like we did last time, and the owl can't load, so no cutscene. A little bit faster.
Only faster in English, I think, by the way, if I'm not mistaken.
Will this be a good start to get in a couple donations here?
I think so.
Yeah, no problem. We have, let's see, a $50 donation from Corpor Racing. Here's a teeny bit of progress towards our awesome robot overlords. Must support Taz.
It's kind of interesting in this game. Bombs don't do self-damage, but bombs from bomb fairies do, and so you can abuse that to get across that pit without needing to go in the
По сути, сейчас зачитывали донаты, а также объясняли, как работают бомбы, то есть, если самому поставить бомбу, она тебя никак не ударит, но чужие бомбы, они делают очень бобо. Также вот до этого немножко манипулировали рандомом и предметами, выкапывая там сердечки, рупии, кажется, рупии, да, рупии, чтобы задиспаунить некоторых врагов и предметы. Предметы. Я забыл, как эта шутка в Blade Runner идет дальше. Ну ладно.
As much damage as a spin slash, so we just abuse optimal dashing to kill him instantly, or in 6 hits. One thing we can't skip is certain dungeons with keys, so we have to get them from the source you get them from.
It's a good time to mention another glitch that Twisted Tamer opted not to use is called super swimming, where when you're clipped inside the water and you look at a wall, look at away from a wall that has a ledge, you turn off your collision permanently. It's an extremely powerful glitch.
Сейчас рассказали про очень топовый, замечательный глюк, который называется супер...
Yeah, the last one was in 2010. It had not had the LADX revolution yet, so it just had swordlessing, just had to do the best he could.
Вспомнил, как это слово. И он позволяет абсолютно полностью отключить коллизию на экране. То есть мы можем проходить в любую точку просто по нажатию кнопочки.
Okay, we got a puzzle coming up that involves making the horse heads land upright, and it's usually the bane of RTA runs, but we just manip it to be first try.
Сейчас был очень сложный, экстремально сложный пазл, который не могли сделать нормально в ранее.
Most of the time. This boss usually requires like hurting with 5 bombs while he's vulnerable, but unfortunately.
Короче говоря, просто нормальные обычные игроки иногда просто ресетали в этом месте. А мы просто поманипулировали немножечко и поставили эти головы лошадей так, как они должны были стоять. Просто щелчком. И мы взяли очередной музыкальный инструмент. Знаете, целую $1000. Нет, $100. Мы опять говорим с совой. Знаете, иногда мне кажется, что совы не то, чем кажется. Сотни тысяч. Главное, что это идет на замечательную цель. А, в принципе, остальное не так уж и важно.
I love all the jargon that individual speedrunning and task communities come up with for their runs.
So we just got in there without feather.
И мы прошли в это подземелье без.
Yeah, normally you have to swim through an underwater cave to get there, and that requires swimming, so we can't do swimming. So we just had to do something else.
По сути говоря, в это подземелье можно попасть только с помощью плавания, а мы плавать не умеем, но мы, короче, так взяли, скобочкой перелетели, все. Мы сказали, что нет, игра, мы не будем играть по твоим правилам, мы, короче, телепорт. И вот мы оказались, мы получили еще один музыкальный инструмент.
So usually there's a very long route to get to the mountains, but we're going to use getting through cave systems to reach the bird key, and then the 7th dungeon, which is up in the mountains.
Ну вы видите, что мы прыгаем. Мы прыгаем, мы клипаемся, всем весело, все хорошо. Мы прям проходим очень быстро это все.
We clipped into the bottom of the screen so we could stand just below the screen and be able to do one of those dash jumps to save a few Jesus jumps.
Мы там, кстати, взяли ключ. Раннер, конечно же, устал. Раннер такой, ну ладно. Теперь TASBot за меня будет играть.
Yeah, it's a very, very broken game, as you'll see in the next run that we're going to do. So
this
it requires.
Looks broken.
Если вам кажется, вот эта игра сломанной, вот этот ран сломанный, то вы подождите то, что скоро будет. Кажется, собрали на неправильные варпы. И неправильные варпы это прям кошмар. Это прям вы будете увидеть это и быть в да.
Now that the 3rd floor is down, we can go straight to it.
Знаете, это замечательное объяснение.
And I'm still breathing, the game's still sinking. Don't worry, guys.
Если комментаторы спидранеры комментируют спидраны, то TAS-раны должны комментировать TAS-комментаторы. Ну, Я
Probably good time
просто
for a donation
маленькая
since
нейросеть, я
we're gonna
только
be going
учусь
to fourth
говорить.
dungeon next.
25 лет от роду.
Sure, we have $30 from
Мы также
H saying,
получили
"When's
новый музыкальный
TASBot's
инструмент.
Bat Mitzvah?" Shoutouts
Трунь.
to the Quake
Но
NRC, QuakeNet
этот
IRC
музыкальный
chat. We're
инструмент
still
не
hanging
делает
around after
трунь,
all these years.
но
Keep up the good work, GDQ.
что-то в нашем инвентаре
Wow.
обязано делать
That's
трунь.
IRC chat.
Right?
We still have an IRC bridge for the TASBot Discord.
Также, кстати,
So, yeah,
напомнили
making our way
про
to Dungeon 2,
прошлый
or Dungeon 4,
TAS,
excuse me. I should
то,
have said
что
2.
на,
But we have to go
кажется,
through the whole.
NESе или SNESе показывали
Normally, you need to go into Tall Heights to get there.
сообщения,
But
которые
with
постились
some
либо
clever
в
super
Дискорде,
jumps,
либо в
that's not
чате
necessary.
Твича. И сейчас сказали то, что у нас, в принципе, до сих
Yeah, this
пор
is
оно
normally
работает,
where you
оно
get the flippers,
есть.
which is why this one's usually done before.
Там,
If you do the game
если
glitches,
что.
but we don't need to swim in this game, so we just go straight to the instrument.
Вот, кстати, то, что делает Трунь.
And that was Dungeon 4. That took like what, 35 seconds?
It was like 18 seconds from entering.
18.
Nice.
That's like half of what I said.
It's crazy what you can do with the power of stepping through every single frame.
Absolutely.
What we actually have set up now is the way we make these runs is we take BizHawk and we look at the game frame by frame, advance
Да,
it,
сейчас
and try
говорит,
different inputs until we see what's
в принципе,
fastest.
о
And with
сути
the
ТАСа,
Gembot
то, что
speedrun core,
мы
that's
смотрим
the
на
kind
каждый
of
фрейм
core we're
и
using to emulate the Game Boy in BizHawk.
анализируем,
We've
что
worked
там
with casual folk
можно
player
сделать с ним,
Alyosha Task,
как можно это
Devonsky,
все
and
сломать.
Enterprinter all together to, and myself,
Мы
to
снова
get that
говорим
core accurate enough to be
с
able to
собой,
play these games
можно,
like LADX and
придумайте,
all
как
sorts of
можно
other Game Boy
скипать
games
сов
on the real console.
ТАС.
Also, shout out to casual poke player's task, where he abuses, what do you call it?
Arbitrary code execution.
Save corruption?
Yeah, arbitrary code execution and save corruption to beat the game in like a
102.
minute. Yeah, 102.
And that's
It's
on the original
insane.
Link's Awakening, right?
I think so, right?
Так,
Yeah,
у нас опять
1.0.
сломанный полулинк.
Very
Because
cool.
arbitrary code execution only works on JP. It's a super cool task.
Так, сказали еще про какой-то другой ТАС.
This is one of the most complex
Excursion?
dungeons to get through casually, but we can pretty much just wall
окей,
clip
ладно.
and super dash through walls to get almost straight up through it.
Хорошо, бежим. Быстро бежим.
The reason why all 8 instruments are required in this run is because the
И мы
AGDQ
взяли
requires 8 instruments to be able to play the
барабан.
cutscene. Usually you have to play the ocarina with Marin's song, but
Барабан.
we'll do something different. But the instruments are still
Bam, bam, bam.
required.
If you look at a RTA, no wrong warp run, it's like 10 minutes or something because you can get to the egg room by using some out of bounds stuff, but it's just a little bit too broken and not very interesting for a task.
Как сказали,
So this task had to make
Что
some
еще раз?
extra rules to avoid it not being just using super jumps to get out of bounds.
этот ТАС сказали, что
There's a reason the
сделали
next one is
более
only
таким
about 5
интересным,
minutes.
а иначе он был, ну,
You got
совсем
any other reportations you
сломанным,
want to throw out quick before the end of the run?
чтобы он
Sure, we have
не использовал
$250 from
суперпрыжок
Cancer
с
Bad
помощью вот
Zelda
этих
Good saying, we need to keep the TASBot block going as long as possible. Let's get that glitch exhibition met
чтобы
and kick
вылетать
Cancer's butt at the
out
same
of
time.
bounds, то есть за пределы
We have
уровня.
$100 from Zeta Gundam saying, here's my
Итак,
last donation for the marathon. My husband and I have been volunteering
8
from home
инструментов.
and it's been a blast. Shout out to the donation
Мне
for
заняло
being
это 3
awesome. Now
секунды,
let's keep
чтобы
this
посчитать.
TASBot
Вау,
block
окей,
hype going.
ладно. Что-то с тобой не так, комментатор.
Thank you so much, everybody. I love the hype we do with
What?
these TASBot runs every year.
Мы играем на инструментах.
Probably read one more.
Играем на инструментах.
Sure, we have $25 from Dr. Robotnik saying, I have a job opening available if TASBot is interested.
Зачитывают донаты, кстати
Need
говоря.
my job.
All right,
Так.
so we're going to go into the egg. Notice we did not read the book, which is something you don't even do
Мы
in RCA
зайдем
runs either.
в
Because if
яйцо.
you don't read the book, the pattern is always set to left, left, up, right, right, up, left, up. And using super
Ай,
dashes, we can
упали.
get through it very, very quickly.
Используя супер дэши, можно очень быстро пробежать через вот эти все комнаты.
So when we enter a boss room, usually there's about a 15-second intro where he's just rambling on about, I wanted to end the world, but you didn't want to. But we can just bomb trigger him to not talk and start the boss fight instantly.
And interestingly,
Really
if you-
careful, precise use of those bombs, right?
По сути говоря,
interestingly
у
enough, if,
этого
that boss
босса
touches
есть
your
интро
sword
где-то
on-
на секунд
in the correct
15.
circumstances, you actually
То,
can
что
get
типа
killed
он
without using
такой
powder.
плохой, он хочет уничтожить мир. Но мы
Here's Agnem.
просто
Using bomb triggers by placing bombs off
делаем
screen, you can kind of skip some of the
делаем очень
animation that he
странные
does.
вещи с
You also have to push him
использованием
into the correct spot on the map,
бомб
so he doesn't have to take time to travel there.
и триггерим
Just a little
босса
faster that way.
раньше.
Also, Link's sprite is glitching everywhere. It's fantastic.
Спрайт Линга просто
Just
летает
up, down.
вообще
Just
по
up, down,
всему
messing around.
экрану. И это с одной стороны странно, но с другой стороны
These
прикольно.
bats are really
Наверное.
precise and annoying, but alright, so this last boss is Deathel. Usually it takes a lot of arrows to kill, but we bomb triggered the cutscene to end instantly, so no Deathel.
И по сути говоря, сейчас должна
There we
быть
go.
была
And time is on the white
еще
screen fade out.
последняя
Awesome.
стадия босса, но мы ее пропустили. И, кстати говоря,
Thank
время
you so
там
much, Twisted
похлопаем.
Tamer and GlyphDX, for commentating
Мы пропустили последнюю
Twisted's task of the
стадию
No Wrong
босса,
Work category
просто
for Link's Awakening DX. It's been a great
манипулируя
pleasure to show you
бомбами.
guys those last two tasks,
Аккуратно
but we're not
используя,
done.
аккуратно
We have one
ресеты,
more. We
аккуратно
have the
нажимая там.
incentive Warp's task coming up next. Thank you very much. Let's go.
Сейчас еще будет
There's a reason this
неправильный
one took
ворп
27 minutes and the next one will take 5 minutes.
Он длится, кстати говоря, всего лишь 5 минут.